Okay, so I guess we can start. I know last week I liked the order you guys did with the learning module first and everything, but since we just have retros this week, maybe we can do demos and then jump into that. Is anyone interested in starting?
Yeah, I can start.
Go, Elena, solo demo.
If something breaks, you can say, "Oh, DJ," and just keep on talking.
Yeah, so our issue was to create a delete button to add it to each item, and when user clicks it, it should delete item not only on the user side but from Firebase too. So for this, we had to add just a button after input after our checkbox. Yeah. So we added a button with area label, delete item button, class name, and function delete button. And we used the icon, React icon, which everyone likes. So we created a function. One function sends request to Firebase to delete item from Firebase. It accepts token, which is a collection name and item ID. And another function happens when a user delete a button, click delete button. So it uses window that confirm. So it's like a pop-up window which asks user to confirm confirm his choice. And so that's it. And when I click the button, so it asks me if I'm sure to delete this one, or if I click it and cancel, it won't delete it. That's it.
I love the function naming. Like, they make it, first of all, pretty clear what they do, and second, if you move them later to different files, it's still going to be super clear what they do. And I also love they're using like the native delete dialog. Like, you would think somebody would like try to build on the custom and all that, but if you build custom, they need to make sure respect the keyboard shortcuts, accessibility, and everything else. Well, if you use the browser one, it's just going to work. So I like that you're kind of going for a simple, efficient, and effective. Like, that's a great choice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think a really good thing there is that you broke apart the logic on pressing the delete button and actually deleting the item, because you're probably going to end up with a dozen ways to delete items, and breaking apart that into separate things is definitely like the way to do things. So that was really well done.
Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. I know everyone left a lot of comments already in the PRs, but did anyone else have any questions? Okay, demo number 2. Yay, demo 1.
I'm just grabbing that is going to show our demo the best. I want to make sure I have it running.
So our issue was to sort all the items in the list by estimated next purchase date. And then on top of that, if there were some items with the same purchase date, to sort them alphabetically. And then the third thing was to come up with a visual representation of when of that, what's needed the soonest, etc. And we decided to go with color.
For some reason, it's not running on my local server. I don't know if it's my computer. Oh, looks like it started.
The tricky part with testing this, of course, and this has been the case for a couple of weeks now, is that you have a purchase date we're dealing with, you have the estimated date you're dealing with, the date you clicked it, and doing that on the fly is really, really hard. because the calculation needs dates in the past. So we got really good at faking dates with the Unix timestamp, but you have to go in and update the database. Okay, so here is our list, and what you can see, obviously straight from the start, is the color changes. So the background of everything that's considered soon, which is less than 7 days, is all together in pink. And then we added the tag, instead of adding an ARIA label to every single item, which would be crazy, we have the category just saying, we think you'll need this in less than 7 days. Kind of soon is less than 30 days. And so that's where our second set is. And you can see the days to next purchase, the 11, 14, 22. It's more than 7, less than 30. Not soon, we don't think you'll need them very soon, is anything greater than 30. And then we also implemented the logic for inactive, which is defined as more than twice the estimated next purchase date. So basically, if you stop purchasing it on the estimated loop, then it gets labeled inactive and shoved down to the bottom. I think that is everything from this end. Did I miss anything?
Or less than 2 purchases. So like if you're adding
Oh,
an item for the first time,
yep,
it will go to that inactive.
automatically go to the bottom.
And then I can cover kind of the structure and layout of our code. So you guys saw it evolve over this week, which was really great. We started doing just some sorts on the item, just kind of bare in the code, which has been evolved into this use effect. So this use effect has the dependency of items, local token, and current time. And so when that's triggered, it will send any updated items to the database, and then it'll calculate that estimated time. It'll change the isActive property of the item, which is defaulted to false. We also did add isActive false when we were creating an item for the first time in add item. So now we're changing this property to true, and that's how it's sorting the isActive through this more complex math based on the purchase date and what the current date is. So we thought better to keep it as its own function. And then the groups is where the sorting is happening and the labeling. We have the groups taking in this callback function. It's going to be called when the items are being mapped and filtered into the render. And so each item is going to be grouped based on its previous estimate and the isActive property based on those dates. And then the inactive also, it's based on the total count, which is covered by our use effect function. And then we have some styling, color class. This is what's controlling the styling of each background, and then the labels. And then those groups are then mapped here in our render. And then later, these items are then passed into that group callback and filtered that way. There's some logic I was thinking through, but it's going to take some rearranging to move the groups inside the items filter. But I think that's something that's totally doable, and it would allow us to just like not display any groups that are empty, because we'd have that check on if that group has items in it or not. I think that pretty much covers it. Do you have anything else to add, Kelly?
No, I think that was everything.
I'm loving
Also that it was a
comment.
team effort. We definitely got input from other people along the way, which was awesome.
It's great.
I'm loving the amount of comments you have here. Makes it visually much easier to skim. And so my only recommendation would to also include tailwind CSS in the comments, because I'm recognizing the flex color right from the office hours. But I think if somebody else comes here and they go, well, flex justify between, what does that do? So you can kind of write, this makes sure that this text will be on the left while this one will be on the right. Because justify between doesn't really tell you that. And just kind of like how visual it's going to be oriented, you just like right here, like high level. So they'll know this is on the left, this is on the right, stuff like that.
I like that.
Really great job. You guys came up with a very creative solution, I think, for like a pretty confusing AC or AC things. Something that I only thought of when I went through the code that I'm not, I didn't think about in the PRs. Is there a check for if something is currently active, but is there a way for it to turn back to not active?
So is active is set to false.
I think we,
I thought we did, but I don't know I can't point to it.
If you search for 24 hours, there was some display code,
Yeah.
but there might be a checkbox. Yeah, that's
so the
it.
24 hours is are you talking
That's
about,
not gonna
you're
do
not talking about
active.
check, you're talking about the is active property in the database
Property.
if it ever gets put back to
Yeah.
true. It should, because once you buy it again, that'll re-trigger, once you click it as purchased, that will re-trigger the estimate and the estimate would go lower. But you're right, I don't know
I
if we
feel like-
actually put it to be true again.
Yeah, we need an else.
Or yeah, false
I think we
again.
do need an else in there.
Although, if the state of checkbox is dependent when it was triggered last time, then you might not need to save in the database if it's active or not. You're going to look at that last checked and see if it's within the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you might not need active now that I think about it. Because it's not like your traditional thing where if user checks on and off, you save if it's active. You only care when they did it last time. And based on that, you're going to infer if it should be active or not. It's kind of not really a logical way of doing it, but it's how it is.
We'll have to look at it this week for sure.
Yeah, because the property won't change, but I think the group will change based on these returns.
Yeah.
The group will change, but the property itself won't change. So yeah.
I wonder then if the front end should then decide if it's active based if it's been checked in the last 24 hours, rather than that coming from database. So it would be like calculated right here.
Active doesn't come from the check. That's not what our is active is. Our is active is based on it being a long time since it was purchased or brand new.
Okay.
So yeah, so there's
There's
two checks happening. Yeah.
So we just need to rename the variables. It's more obvious because see, I forgot that. And I knew that a few weeks ago. Right. Because
I think we used that because the AC said that we needed to identify inactive. So
yes,
is active seemed like the logic choice.
Yeah.
So we're just a little bit longer, whatever heck that would be.
Yeah.
I don't think about it, but yeah.
Out of date or
because the checkbox adds to the count, but it's not the active.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should be. I'll think about a name with everybody else. It's naming is interesting.
Yeah, you all did a great job here. There's a lot of logic going on. I was not as involved in the PRs this week, so I'm digesting it all right now. And as you go through the week, like you tackle this and you tackle that. Sometimes you may not realize like how much like logic you've built, but like coming in as a new person kind of this week, having been checked out, like, wow, there's a lot of logic there. So like, first of all, great job. Congrats. Like that was an intense week. So yeah, looks good. I think, and the one comment I'll make isn't as applicable to this app and like your time at Collab Lab, but more so just to kind of have in your mind when you're working on apps in the future, is the filtering that you have going on is very interesting. And like, it seems from a programming standpoint, like it makes a lot of sense. You've got this group filter here, and like each group is going to be like, you take all the filtered things and then you filter all the other ones out and you end up with the final ones. But if you're in like a production app, you might end up with hundreds and hundreds of tasks. And so in that case, you're going to end up running that like multiple times. Because if you have 4 categories, then you're going to do like 400 kind of if statements. And if you like built an app where its categories grow, like that starts to multiply larger and larger. So with something like this in the future, one thing you may want to think about is filtering taking the, I guess rather than filtering would be sorting. So like you take your list of items, and as you like do a for each loop or something like that, you just start putting them in buckets. So you go, okay, great. Here's the, item number 1, that's in the soon bucket. Item number 2, that's in the inactive bucket. And so rather than like going through the whole list, every single group that exists, you go through the list one time and kind of like sort everything out into, oftentimes I might just use like an object with like every property has an array. So you're literally just like, okay, great.
Scalable.
Yeah, just throwing it into the array. And yeah, it allows it to scale better. Like you said, as you add things, you're not like growing the length of time it takes to sort. But I mean, obviously, in this app, you all did a great job for the goal. Like this app does not need to scale to thousands of tasks. So great job. Just as you get, into more and more apps, like you're probably going to run into an app where you're like, oh, like this probably does need to be able to grow to a large, task list. And at that point, like, hopefully me mentioning that will come back to mind and you'll be like, I know what to do here.
Yeah, what I was thinking before we kind of like brainstormed on it is like several different maps of each group, but we didn't want to split up the list because one of the hints in the acceptance criteria is you don't need to divide up the list to kind of tackle this. So this was our kind of unique solution to not split the list, which I think is pretty cool to see it this way too.
And we should check that requirement if it strictly says don't divide or it's just like a recommendation, because
I think it's more like a recommendation, but it's it's cool to learn it this way too.
Yeah, like you did it one way, and the thing Eddie mentioned, since we're all looking as a team to hide some of the groups, we need to refactor this probably anyways. So let's not do it the Lindsay way.
Oh my gosh, I was like 4 different maps. That's like, I bet that's less optimal because you have to read so much more. I don't know, it just felt like bad for me, like the wrong way to go, but maybe it is the way to go.
Well, we can iterate too. We can start with that way of thinking, and then we can kind of just see how you can narrow it, and it doesn't have to be perfect the first time.
Yeah, just playing with it, right? Like there are different combinations you can use, and since I'm seeing this logic for the first time, I might have mentioned something that like wouldn't work the way that it worked in my head. But yeah, just playing around with it. I think the key is knowing your acceptance criteria. And in this case, like your acceptance criteria was like, keep it simple. This list is for grocery shopping. So I think you all did probably the right thing for this application. Absolutely. Yeah, but just for future applications, it's good to know that like, those things, I've programmed a lot of things that like have loops and like multiple loops. And then as I see the numbers grow, like the loops get out of control. So that's all.
It takes longer to render, right? Like if the page would load slower.
Exactly.
Through those loops. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And there's always like, what's the intent behind the recommendation? And I think intent for this one is to make sure the group doesn't over-engineer, spend 50 hours a week instead of 5. But like, I'm a little bit less worried about it with this group. Like if everybody's on board and like there's less need to worry about, I wouldn't call over engineering, just trying a different approach. I think it fits here. Like, if you were really struggling to get the app up and running, then we should be going that crazy, but like we're here, let's do it.
Really awesome. I don't, Rudy, are you ready? I don't remember who's leading the retro.
That's
me. I don't think I'm retro. I'm the issues and what's the joke. Oh, I was supposed to be demos too. Oops.
Oh,
well, leading demos is just like, here, you talk. Now you talk. Okay, sweet. I like the demos. Done.
Let's see here. I did not pull up our board ahead of time, so now I'm
here. I got it. I'll add it in the chat so everyone can pull it up.
That sounds good. Sweet. All right. I will share 6 retro. That's the one.
Just might need like we have a few minutes to fill those out, right?
Yeah. So
okay, sweet.
Yeah, so we'll take, I guess, about 5 minutes. So I'm trying to think how much time we've gone through. Maybe let's take 3 minutes, and then if someone needs more time, we'll give you more time. But I will set the 3-minute timer.
Man, I think I'm gonna need it. Just a warning.
Okay,
And
we'll take the 5 minutes then.
And then proactive people can just, take a vacation for 5 minutes.
It would help if I unmuted myself. I think we're at 5 minutes. I ended up forgetting to get the timer when I started typing. You had one job. Does everyone need more
5 minutes?
time? What was that?
I said that felt like 5 minutes.
Okay.
I think you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
All right.
I like that you're a good person, because if you're an evil person, you would just sit there quietly waiting to see when people would notice. Like, wait, it's March. Why is Eddie not telling us to get back to the...
Yeah. Just let it sit for a week. Awesome. Anyone else need more time, or I know I have to finish typing my one, but all right, so I will finish typing mine real quick and then we'll proceed. Alrighty. So we can just this doesn't want to let me scroll. Okay, just the individual columns. So yeah, we can go down the appreciations list, and we'll just start out at the bottom and then go up. That way, if anyone needs to add anything, it'll still pop up. Since DJ isn't here, I will read through his real quick so we can hear it audibly. Elena, I love working with you. You are so thoughtful, and you make solving complex problems seem like a breeze. Your thorough comments on PRs are also incredible. Lindsay, you are doing an amazing job of staying on top of a lot of complicated tasks, which is awesome. Between navigating Tailwind and getting us to think about future things to fix and refactor, I appreciate the energy and enthusiasm you bring every week. Shelley, you are so kind, thoughtful, and fun to pair with as well. When we worked through that complicated issue a couple weeks ago, your sense of calm and a willingness to try a lot of different approaches was super helpful. And to all of the mentors, your passion, curiosity, and love of learning are truly an inspiration. You all are brilliant engineers, and we are very lucky to be learning from each of you. Thank you for being so generous with your time and willing to walk with us through challenging tasks. Yeah, I'm not from the South, so I have a hard time with the word y'all. So there we go. Y'all are the best. All right. Next up is Lindsay.
Yeah, so my first shout out was for Shelly, who I got to work with this week, and I really appreciated like all the research she was bringing and everything that she was doing to our project. Like, sometimes I like jump in too quickly and I don't know where to start, and then it's like I kind of had to backtrack, but Shelly like already knew where the Firebase was sorting from, so it really gave us momentum into our task this week. And then she also made decisions really quickly, like about how to style her up and color it and everything, and is always super encouraging about going to office hours and things like that. So I like kind of what DJ picks up on is Shelly's very calm and good at making decisions, and that helps me a lot, and I think we work really well together, so I appreciate it. Should I do my other ones too on the same column like before, kind of, or are we going just in order?
Nope, you're good. Yeah, we can do it per person. I
Okay, cool.
was muted, so here we go. I'll scroll up. All right, and yeah, you can continue.
Okay, so I wanted to shout out to all the mentors, because like seeing the way you guys are suggesting like things that we can do in our code is just like making my brain expand and like understand different things, giving me confidence to try the things that I initially am like, that might not be the best idea, even though sometimes like my gut is right. Like some of the ways that you're talking about are like, hey, I kind of thought of that, but I just didn't know how to implement it. But yeah, it's giving me a lot of confidence to kind of follow that and like reinforce that I like a coder and stuff, which is silly, but yeah. So I really appreciate like speaking to each of you this week and getting that experience. So that was really great. And then I had one for Elena because she made some really awesome comments on our PR that really helped me clean everything up after office hours, and I think it works pretty well now. So that was awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, because my screen frozen. It's frozen. Okay. So last week was like it was different from other weeks because we had this tricky issue that could be, I believe it could be solved like in different ways. And I loved like to work with you, like to see, I did only PRs, and to go through the code to understand why you did this, and also like this last week when we had this like tricky issue with time, with previous estimate. So I loved like DJ and Lindsay that you participate in discussion because like it was like overwhelming a little bit, and it was like very educational. And so it was like in the last 2 weeks I learned a lot from you, and it was really helpful. And our mentors, as usual, you're like incredible, and always, especially I appreciate this comments you like Eddie left when he wrote about like how it could be like how it could work like in real job. Like don't like how, because like we don't have this experience, we don't think about this like this way, and this comment was so helpful, like to realize, oh really, like it could be different, we need to think like this way. It was like, it's very priceless. Yeah, and Lauren, like this week you left this comment about use effect and why we need function, like that it can be tested. It was like really helpful too, because like, yeah, I just really forgot to think about this. And Rudy, when we let this, when we push this, our commit, I knew that this function was named like not the best way, and I was thinking, oh, Rudy will tell us this, like it was bad name for the function. You did. So like I'm really grateful that you keep being this like precisely, and like you keep us to build this good habits. How to write, how to comment. Don't forget about the comment. Don't forget to name the function the best way, or variable. So it's like very helpful, very educational 2 weeks. Thank you.
Alrighty, let's see here. All right, next up, Rudy.
Okay, so on my end, I love what everybody else wrote. Like appreciation for everybody. Like I agree with everything on this board. The two things, like my stuff is pretty easy to read. So just the two things to add is, it's been really illuminating because through this retro to realize how much people learn by observing. Like when I collaborate with others, because as a self-taught developer, like biggest leap in me professionally when I learned was always like seeing how other people do and tackle stuff. And that's been just like, it's amazing to being able to be on the other side and also contribute. Because when I was learning stuff from people, they like me way so much. It also makes me think that you should maybe like have occasional dev hackathons or whatever, just for the sake of learning from each other. Because like I was like on GitHub, and that thing Lindsay mentioned about looking at comments when you go through PRs, that option was on for me. I was like, I had no idea that existed. It was like hidden all the way there. I was like, I didn't know it was there. And the thing DJ mentioned here, which I think is pretty good, how could we work asynchronously? I'm gonna raise this on Slack, but it'd be kind of cool now that group knows each other and all that. For the last few weeks, you can kind of figure out, well, okay, do we want to tackle things in a ticket? Do we want to tackle things asynchronously? Do we want to do meetings and all that? I love that it's being thought and brought up, because you can't just have a group and figure out how you're going to work. You have to know each other, and then you kind of decide what clicks best. And then everybody can, practice voicing what works best for them and finding middle ground. It's exciting. I love this whole board. That's my spiel.
It's my turn. Well, the first line's perfect. Lindsay, you're a rock star. I am never going to get over how you dealt with the merge conflicts the week before last. I mean, because we had written, DJ and I had written huge things in our part, and it was the same file that they totally refactored and moved. And the conflicts were just more than a screen tall. And she's just like, bam, 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 bam. And it works. Like, it was so fun to watch. And also we had so much fun this week. I'm glad you mentioned that, like, the way I approach stuff, because I love the way you approach stuff. I love that you will just jump in. I am such a chicken and I have to do all the little research, and then I type slowly and I'm like, is it gonna work? And you're just like, let's try this. Bam, 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 bam. So I think we melded really, really well. Because we got this thing that looked terrifying in the issue, and we kind of knocked it out pretty quick and easy. It's like, we think this is gonna work. Boom, done. We think this, I mean, except for the grouping, which we had to wait till office hours. So thanks, Rudy. You should be on our issue this week, for giving us all those ideas. But it was great. It was really great. And Lena, I love that you're part of every group. Like, I don't know why we put your faces on stuff. You show up during office hours and you are right there in the code. It's not just in PRs. It's every time we're working on something. So you're in every little part of it. And I don't even think of it like our part, their part, whatever. And that's not just because we're switching, each week. I think it's just the way we work together. We're really awesome. And DJ, I mean, he's not here, but the fact that he just has a brand new job and it's full time, and you pretty much can't tell. I mean, he's not around early in the day anymore, but he is on Slack. He's showing up. He's participating just as much as ever. So I super appreciate him. And I'm going to jump to the mentors because it's still on the screen. So I'm going to count that as my turn. You guys are amazing. The generosity of time and guidance, and that you're really thinking about it. Like when we had office hours, Lauren, and you were like, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to say too little. It's like, you're really here for us, all of you. And it's been amazing. I mean, I've learned so much. I feel so much more confident. And it's really, really been fun. So yeah, that's me.
Oh, I think it's my turn. Oh man, this week, I know my text looks small, but my feelings are big. I just was trying to get through all the columns since usually I don't. Yeah, Shelly, I just love the energy you bring to the group. And I mean, everyone is so involved. So when I say something positive about someone, it's not to take away from others, but you're always like the first at office hours. And yeah, you just are like, I feel like very open book, or just like open to telling us how you're feeling or how you're doing. So that's really great. And Lindsay, like Shelly was saying, you just jump into things. It seems, from what I can tell, I'm kind of jealous we don't get to pair with you guys, because you guys are also awesome, and I wish we got to know you even better. But just know we are bragging about you to other mentors, so that's true. And DJ, he always comes in with like really great pointed comments that hit the nail right in the head right away. He has a way of saying something like very succinct. That's really great and insightful. And Alina, like everyone here has great technical skills, but I just feel like you're putting so much into your PRs, and for instance, you jumped in to office when we did office hours, and you knew which Firebase function to use. So we were all kind of like, oh, I don't know, let's look around, and the docs were confusing, and you were like, oh, I think it's this, and you saved the day like that. So the skills you're bringing are really invaluable too. And yeah, the other mentors, you guys are giving such like great advice, really invaluable insight. And to be honest, part of the reason I like being part of Collab Lab is selfish, because I get to learn from the other mentors, and also from you guys, like the devs too. I mean, the fact that you started looking into React Router version 6, it's like, oh, I get to learn something new. So yeah, this has been really great so far.
Awesome. Yeah. And similarly, like I have the same caveat as Lauren, which is, yeah, like I'm calling out some specific things, but that doesn't mean others don't have it. It just means like this pops out particularly about how each of you work, and is going to be repeating a bunch of things that a bunch of other people have said. So apparently it's all true, right? Because we're all saying the same things. But yeah, Elena, again, the technical skill set and viewpoint that you bring to discussions, right? Like you're very precise in the way that you look at the PRs, and like a team isn't well-rounded without someone who can really look at those details. I tend to be someone who can sometimes skim over details. I tend to think in like big things. And so it's always really important to have someone who can really look at some of those precise details. And that's really great what you've been doing, Elena. Lindsay, you're very collaborative, right? Like I feel like whenever you need to make a decision, like you're not someone who just goes off and makes a decision. Like you're talking to everyone else, the other teammate you're pairing with, you're talking with the other team that you're not pairing with, right? Like you're fishing for information to figure out how to best do things. And you might feel like you do that right now because you're new or something, but that's something you should never let go of. Right. Like as you get into big companies and stuff, like the name of the game is getting everyone's opinion and getting everyone to buy in. And so like that skill isn't something that should leave just because you feel more confident in the decisions you're making. That should continue to grow. And I believe it will. Like it seems to be part of your nature, not, having to do with how little or large amount of time you've spent in programming. Shelly, you bring a lot of perseverance. I feel like every week, oh no, Shelly got like on the team that gets the tricky ticket. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you're always on the tricky ticket team for some reason. But you don't give up, right? Like you're at office hours, you're asking questions on Slack, you're digging in, you're like, I'm going to get this sucker finished. You know what I mean? Like you're not giving up. You're not letting it get you frustrated. Like, forget it. Like I'm done. Like, you're like, no, we can do this. Like it hasn't dampened your spirits. So that's really huge. And obviously DJ's not here, but he's, as already mentioned, he's a multitasking pro, right? He started a new job. He's still part of the community. He's still doing everything. And we forgive him, even though he's not here tonight. Rudy, you are always helping the team. I love how you're following up on Slack, right? You're putting more thoughts out there. I like how, you'll go and you'll leave comments in the PR for things that should probably be addressed, right? Like that currently. And then you use Slack for like ideation. Like, you've gotten the Pacifics. Now let's just think about the why, right? And let's just think about stuff. And I love how you use the different mediums to kind of communicate that different intent. I think that's really helpful. And Lauren, like I feel like you bring, like a more holistic, like kind of leadership to the mentor team. I think you have from your programming experiences, your involvement in the Collab lab before, like, I feel like all of that makes it where like, whenever like Rudy and I try to kind of help fill in and give thoughts when we feel like, hey, here's an opportunity where I can actually like offer help. But I feel like you tend to offer help when suddenly there's silence and like no one knows what to do. And it's always like, that's okay, because like Lauren's here to catch it before it falls. You know what I mean? And so it's like we try to do what we can, but you can pretty much hop over into any conversation or any place and help prevent the bottom from falling out of it. And so it's been really great to just see you in that role and helping kind of lead the team as a whole. So really appreciate that. And that is my ramblings and HTML tag of Eddie's ramblings. Okay, that was it for the column. So yeah, now we are on to what went well. And DJ again, so teamwork. I love how we have come together over the last couple of weeks to come up with solutions with some challenging issues. I feel like we are also all taking equal ownership over all parts of the app and seeking to understand how everything works. All right, and over to Elena.
Yeah, I feel like a lady typer. But everything went so well, like, and especially how we approach these issues, how we dive in the discussions, and that everyone like participated, and you like mentors helped us. Like it was very good 2 weeks.
Over to you, Rudy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna read mine. It's like all this is impressive. I'd be loving to work with everybody here, and so it's like that impressive. Yeah, that's it.
In the spirit of the Olympics, you guys deserve the gold for teamwork. Yeah, but you guys are also open to helping each other and receiving feedback, and also, and there's no egos. Like, you know, people just step in to help everywhere, and that's just really great to see. Okay, we're upping it to platinums. Sorry, so sorry, Rudy.
I gotta go with, we have a minimum viable product. We've hit everything we need to, and it's actually kind of pretty. I think it needs a lot of polish, and that's what we get to do next. So I'm super, super excited because we are going to make something awesome. I have no doubt.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think kind of building on that, like not only is it a minimum viable product, but I feel like in the last couple of weeks, like I feel like every ticket has gotten a little bit of something added extra, whether it's refactoring or whether it's adding more to the app. I don't feel like, you know, it's MVP, you know, as in like you kind of completed the baseline tickets, but I feel like you already have all added some extra in. So I feel like it's MVP plus. And that's what I think has gone really well these last couple of weeks. You know, MVP plus as in a TV streaming service, because everyone has plus at the end. All right. On to what could be improved. DJ again, so I'll read that. Honestly, nothing. It feels like things have been ramping up in terms of complexity, but we have had really good foundation going in, which is helping us a lot. One thing to consider, I wonder how we could develop strategies for working asynchronously. I definitely prefer pair programming, but sometimes time constraints and scheduling conflicts can make that tricky. Maybe each of us could take on one of the new issues we are creating for refactoring and bug fixes. Thoughts? And yeah.
I'll
So
send a Slack paragraph for this one because I think worthwhile talking about.
nice. That's good. Awesome. I'll hand it off to Elena.
Yeah, I just we have 1 more week only, so maybe we can extend it. You guys like really team dream, right? So yeah, it's only one thing I could think what we can improve. Any thoughts?
I'm done.
I know they've had some teams keep going for a little bit. So if you guys have more, because you can use these projects too with your interviews. So if you have things you want to keep adding to, like by all means, keep going. And I think, are some of you signed up for the career lab?
Yep.
Okay, so I think that's March 6th, which is also the same day as our last one in 2 weeks. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, totally do that if you want.
Just, I would say if you keep working on it, make sure you either branch out or keep a stable version, because I notice as I keep improving stuff and they end up breaking things, and you always want to have a version that works and stuff in progress to show too. So like either like have a dedicated branch that works or separate repo or whatever, because this is going to be a nice little polished finished state.
Well, and building on that, you also have right, the GitLab will continue to exist, so you can keep building on that. Our team channel will continue to exist, so you know we're not going anywhere. You know, Rudy, Lauren, and I will still be around. I may be a little bit more silent following like a week or two because I have a new child on the way, but I will respond eventually, you know, even if I'm in a sleep deprived state at some point. All right. I think Lauren is up next.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think you guys have just been the epitome of what they hoped for with Collab Lab so far. So, but I am really excited to see you guys do these next couple of weeks, because now I think finally your personalities can really shine through, and just what the app experience is like. So that'll be cool.
And for mine, that it always feels odd to what to improve, because every time team identifies what to improve, it organically improves. So there's like this ongoing cycle. So therefore, there's not much to add here.
Awesome. That took a lot longer than I expected. I probably should have kept an eye on the time and moved just along faster. I guess quick issues, over to Rudy.
Yeah, I like Rudy. You have 5 minutes. Good luck. Okay, let me share my screen real quick. Let me know when you see it. Okay, sweet. So I'm really like, this is my favorite issue. I'm so happy I get to be presenting this one, because now it's like, hey, for the last 2 weeks, go finish the app, take it in the direction you wanted. And you notice that we already been working towards this organically. Like the code has been kind of already like leaking outside the requirements and kind of going more into how you want to do it. The same thing with the UI too. I mean, some people at this point introduced Tailwind CSS, but you folks already there, right? And I think Lindsay will already like creating the issues, which is what this is also about. Like, go figure out the rest on your own. Now, there's some guidance here, and I need to be very clear that be mindful which is recommendation versus requirement. For example, here it talks about design process, mood board, typography now, and CSS. The thing is, you already kind of sort of figured the CSS part out. You might not need to add more frameworks, but maybe you do. So I would say, because team seems to be very solid and all that, talk amongst yourselves, and we're there for you. Figure out if you want this process or something else, because maybe the mood board is a good way for the team to figure out how the app should look like. But maybe you want to look at the color schemes. Maybe you want to find other websites and see which feel you like. Like, these aren't the only way to get what you need. However, you do need to, like, don't wait until last minute, because like, start early with this. Maybe start a Slack thread or do a meeting in person, whichever works easiest for you. Figure out if somebody should be telling votes or how to decide. The challenge / fun here is getting team consensus and then everybody moving in that direction. And the only thing I would do here is just not to lose track is, and by the way, I'm gonna try to add notes to this ticket, is maybe add some dates or milestones. You don't want to wait till the last 2 days and go, oh shit, we should like rush through all this. So maybe say in the next 5 days, let's decide on design. Then maybe in the next 3 days, let's implement the first version of it. And let's 3 days, let's test it. First I'm gonna let the team, I think the best way is talk with each other and see how you want to approach this. And if it feels like you're struggling and all that, I'm very happy for us to come in and give suggestions. But I feel like you're in a pretty good place to like experiment with some of this. It gives you like a little bit of a quote unquote leadership experience. Like, if you're already so good at considering what everybody else is thinking, and I just like almost like formalizing it. Okay, DJ, what you think? What do you think? Okay, what do you think we go with this one? Kind of almost like elect who's going to be driving which part with whom, and you can use this board to track. So again, take these as a strong suggestions, but I don't think any of these per se have to happen. The only one, and I'll try to clarify this, like, I think accessibility should be a requirement. Like, don't make awful colors that nobody can see. Make sure you're using the right ARIA stuff and all that. The more research you do in that area, the better. But again, some of the other stuff, design process, mood board, I think that's up to you. Like, again, if you like this, go for it. But if you feel something else would do better, go for that too. But so yeah, if you have any questions, ask. But this is basically like, get the app where you want to get it to. Like, think how to have the final product you want to finish. And I think also starting early will help you near the end. If you kind of go, oh shit, we've taken more than we should have. Do we want to have version 1 that's simpler and create a tickets for what we want to do post project? Or do we just want to trim down the work? Or do you maybe have more capacity than you thought and you want to add more stuff? Like, there's so many options there. So just want to check do you have any thoughts at this point? Or if not, I can start a Slack thread and we can start talking about this one.
Design scares me because I don't know where to start, and usually like my stuff looks bad from the start. But like I feel like it's more the thing that you kind of just have to dive in and figure it out as you go.
And
I was just thinking, oh, based on what Rudy said, what we should do, and I was going to put this in a Slack message, is like go pick a couple color palettes that we like, go find some websites that we like or apps, and then the four of us get together, share them all, and just decide, you know, we like that one or whatever, and then just go for it from there.
Yeah, and it's okay if some people have stronger opinions about, like, if you have one that's more like into design, one person's more code solving, that's okay too. Like, it's kind of cool part to figure the team communication. I think the strongest part, I think the first step would be is, do you have your, I want to say Lauren, because me and Eddie, we're relying on Lauren. Like, Lauren, just the first day, here's the list of what happens on each date. I'm like, I know what to do. Life is so much better now. Is there anybody on the team who wants to be the Lauren? Or if not, then maybe we can then give you like a starting template of how to like structure these. Because based on team, I can come up with a good suggestions if you want. But I first want to give you the option if somebody on the team wants to kind of try to lead the thing for the experience.
I can be the Lauren.
It did be great, Lauren. You know, it's great too. Just give people dates and you sit back and go, like, you know, it's like a dev lead manager skills. Like, and yeah, I think you'd be awesome at it. Go for it. And I'll be able to criticize, I mean, offer feedback, I mean, support, geez.
Very honored, Rudy. Wow, position named after my name. Just a quick comment. Have you guys used Figma before, or any other kind of wireframing tools?
Tried once, it looked really bad.
Well, that's just one tool that's I think my group had used, but the thing that's cool about it is it's like a Google Doc with design, you know, multiple people can do it at once, and you can do, the more into it you get, you can do like different frames for different whatever types of standard sizes, and that you can import certain libraries. For instance, there's a material UI library you can import and just like use those to copy over. But there might be something with Tailwind that they have like some like sample. Anyway, that might be a nice place for you to get some of your ideas down if you have that meeting. And yeah, my biggest suggestion was just be, even if it's not design wise, but to have a little wireframe if you totally decide, you know, I know you already have your app, but if you want to change any of the layout or something, if you kind of have that set, then people can split it up. And I don't know, Eddie or Rudy, do you have any ideas for the branching? You could do like one styling branch and then everybody do that, and then we merge it, you know, have that one PR. Or there could be, I don't know, if you guys want, you could each have one, you could pair, you could do it a lot of different ways. But Eddie or Rudy, do you?
I think this will come organically, like seeing how team wants to do this, and we can figure out a branching strategy, because I don't think we should be creating any right now until we figure out which direction we want to go in. Because like in my example, when I usually try the wireframing tools, I go, you know what, I'm better in CSS. So I go wireframe it in CSS. I just have an HTML page with CSS that doesn't hook up to any code, but that's what I'm iterating on. So if team does that, then it makes more sense to do branch per person. But if the team kind of goes, you know what, let's just have these two people figure design, and we're going to be tracking some other stuff like stability and all that, then you just need 2 or 1 branch. But I think that also kind of goes into the thing that DJ asked, how do they want to collaborate? So I'll start a little Slack thread on it and see what comes out of it.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. I think, sorry, I was just going to say, building on that, like, I think, right, you have this one task that's kind of, you know, the goal is to figure out what you're doing next. And so odds are you'll probably want to create tickets out of that. So you'll, you know, do your brainstorming, get together, figure out what you all want to try to tackle, create a couple of tickets out of that. And then I'd probably just say every ticket gets a branch, right? And if you end up creating 4 tickets, 1 for each person, then great, you get 4 branches and you all can, you know, kind of operate independently, kind of along the line of what DJ was talking about. Or maybe you have a couple, like only 2 tickets, but they're really big, and so you want to pair on them or whatnot. So I think you can kind of play that by ear. But yeah, figuring out what you want to do, as Rudy said, and then creating some tickets to then help organize your work around is probably good next steps there.
Thank you for reminding me. I should have mentioned that first because Lindsay's making tickets. I'm like, oh yeah, group already knows about tickets, but tickets are huge because even if you have a ticket, figure out UI, at least that ticket you can track work. Even if ticket doesn't have any deliverables or code per se, it still has the end goal, which could be either, yeah, this is done, let's move to this dependency, or we're not going to do this. But like use the tickets to track work. Because again, Slack is very, say, synchronous. We can kind of lose track of that stuff. Like use the ticketing system. There's no such thing as too many tickets. Well, shit, I shouldn't have said that. No, be moderate with tickets. Let's go with that one.
There's no such thing as too many tickets until you have to go through and do backlog grooming and delete half the tickets. But that's okay because then you know what you're deleting. It's okay.
I just regretted saying there's no such thing as too many tickets. That there is. Okay, that's it. So if there's nothing else to add, I'll start a little thread in Slack. And great, this is like the most exciting part of projects. It's just seeing y'all just flourish and go at it.
I'm excited. These were really good tips.
Have a great rest of Sunday.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.